when we are having change of governments. And as we are having the change of governments, this incoming government is now a unique one because it has a bigger population representing the young people. Uganda being one of the youngest countries in the entire world right now, with over 78% of the population under 35 years of age. Young people are now dominating the streets. They are dominating universities, and more critically, they are dominating the ballot paper. But when power is allocated, the picture does change dramatically. In Parliament, only about 3.8% of members are aged below 30 years of age or even younger, and just 5 seats specifically reserved for the young people. So this morning, we confront the hard question. And this is the question of, if young people are the majority, why are they remaining at the margins of power? And so when we see the new cabinet right now in place, and one that is now going to be changing, is this the moment when the young people's voices actually finally do translate into influence? Or are we just witnessing yet another cycle where representation is just meant to be visible, but power remaining out of reach for the young people? So joining me, men gallant and in courts, and they are here to defend the case of young people. To my immediate left, I do have Robert Maseruka, MP-elect for Mukono South, on the threshold of entering the next parliament, representing a new people and a new generation preparing to step into national leadership. Honorable, how does it feel, first of all? Do you wake up and you have to like hit, question and go like, yeah, I'm honorable?
I'm only grateful to the people that saw it wise for me to be their member of parliament. But also, very importantly, it comes with a lot of responsibility because you have adult servants that trusted you, but also you have young people in your hands that you have to take care of. At the end of the day, service delivery should actually be seen from whichever political party you're coming from, understanding the intricacies as the national unity platform that we work under. We know at the end of the day we have to deliver, because this is what we always tell them in the campaign, for them to trust us, for us to be their voice. And so we must be seen delivering at even in the littlest of things. Yeah. Okay.
Right now, where you stand, because the idea is that when you are announced as the next MP, immediately the population moves on to the next leader. Is that the pressure you currently facing?
Exactly, and I understand how flabbergasted they are, because we are at a time where I have not yet had office.
Yeah, you don't
but
have
also
any powers.
the incumbent is also saying I'm no longer in office, so they are confused on who to approach in case there is need. But of course, when you are elected into these positions, your role actually starts from the time when you're campaigning. There are people that you must help. You must be seen doing something. So we carry on with that until 14th of this month, when we shall raise up our Bibles to say we are willing so much. Yeah.
Stephen Rubongwe is also sitting down with us this morning, president of the Makerere University Private Students Association, now bringing into the voice of organized constituents of students and also youth mobilization. Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing well, Ms. Priscilla. Once and foremost, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank NTV for hosting me this morning. And yeah, this topic is really catching. And if I say, as my fellow Robert Maseruka has said, this is now becoming, this is something that, remember the honorables who are, these people, they haven't signed into the incoming 12th parliament. So it is still something that is fumbling to most of the honorables who are still haven't come in. But let's wait and see what is yet to be served on the plate. We are still waiting.
As MOPS, do you have a certain expectation, especially of the younger honorables coming in?
Yes, we do. Actually, as MUPSA is Mbara University Procurement Students Association.
Oh, okay.
And if I'm speaking in line with the national constitution in regards to the PPDA Act constitution, that is under Article 32, under the PPDA Act Cap 205. This is where you find that the youth having some shares under the reservations and preference. You'll see that the youth have the mandate to come in and have contracts, especially in government parastatals, for if the contract is below 30 million. So But these are things that the youth aren't really aware about. So if this incoming cabinet is ready to make the community, to make the youth aware about them partaking these opportunities, I think it will be of great importance and of great use.
Okay, that's a nice position of understanding, helping the young people understand that there are opportunities that they must uptake. The 90th Guild Speaker, Makerere University, is also sitting with us. Stuart Mugisha, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you, NTV, for the opportunity. I am Edgar Stuart Mugisha, the 90th Guild Speaker. Currently, Makerere is in its 92nd Guild leadership, just to be clear. I handed over last year in March. I've had a feel. He left university a year before me, so I think the exposure we have had has shown us that we have untapped potential. The youth make up 23.6% of Uganda's population, that is between 18 to 30. But unfortunately, we are at a point whereby we are not even sure whether out of the 80 we will even have 10 that are below 30. Thank you very much.
Okay. When you say untapped potential, what would it take for that potential to be a realistic power for young people?
Oh, thank you very much. First of all, I will be clear. Being young does not make you competent. But being young gives you a resilience and zeal, a fire that a person above 40 will not have. The work rate that I have is 4 times more than my 70-year-old father. But we are in a country which I would call a gerontocracy, whereby majority of the people that hold the power to make the decisions that matter are advised and they themselves are above 70. Now, how am I supposed to make my contribution to the country if the best that I can do right now is be a social media influencer? That is what I call untapped potential. Yet, His Excellency Maseruka here could make a very good state minister. That is what his untapped potential is.
Okay. On that note, let me start with Stephen. You lead one of the largest students' organizations in the country and in that region. From your vantage point of view, do young people lack access to power to begin with?
Yeah, if I'm to speak, I'll say, you see, right now, if we are to base on the cabinet that is so far serving, I don't think we have 5 ministers within the youth, coming from within the youth, who are trying to partake our issues or our grievances over there. And this gives us a challenge because we are unable to stand on our ground. Why? To some extent, we feel like the youth is not so much interested. Why? They feel like we still have more time to engage in fun, to engage in not doing things that are not economical, and I feel like that's not the point. That's not the point. The youth, they are people that are, as of now, willing to partake the social and economic status of the country. And remember, we are the backbone of the country. But if we are left behind, the question now comes to us, the people who are to partake or lead the country in some years from now. So how is it going to be? Where are these people going to be left? So if I am to say right now, I don't think we so far have the audacity to speak. And if I am to maybe be precise, we are still lacking somewhere, somehow. If the government could at least do some kinds of adding some few ministers coming from the youth, because we recently hired this minister of minerals.
Nyamtoro.
Yeah, Nyamtoro. I think she's the only minister from the youth who has tried to at least lead and confront our issues. But if this time the government tries to include in youth, and these people are capable, they have the capability, but it is about having some people to forward and partake our grievances. If it is done in that way, and the only way to do it is at least giving these people an opportunity to lead and show that they have the interest to lead their country and be more innovative and creative.
Okay, Maseruka here, Yakubu Nkokora. So having had to do the tug of war, you know, to disprove people that as a young person you two are capable of leading, what carries more responsibility from your experience? Is it the system that limits entry of young people, or is it the youth who haven't really forced their way in strongly enough?
Well, I think that is subject to debate. There is no doubt whatsoever that the demographics of this country speak that we must be actually, if not half, almost 3/4 of the current cabinet should be formed by youthful people. But also secondly, it comes off with the current government when it was still in the bush. When you look at the people that they were recruited for them to win and also prosper in the bush war, they were actually youth. I always refer back to the president of this country, who was then, he having said he's 81 years now. The last time he addressed you people, said he's 81. Currently, as we speak, he has led 40 years. 81 minus 40 is 41. Minus the 6 he spent in the bush is 35. Minus, because he's saying him going to the bush, he had been rigged an election. So minus the 5 years of preparation, he was 30. But in those years, he was minister. You get the point. When he was going to the bush, in his book, he writes and says that he was one of the oldest. He was the elder of them all. Meaning, when you look at the Dr. Kiza Beche, the Dr. Salim Saleh, Mugisha Muntu, Kahindo Tafire, they were all younger than him. That speaks a lot of, if we want to achieve something, which age bracket are we going to look for? If we want this country looking at it and how it's going to look like in the next 40 years, which are we going to look at? There are more reasons as to why he didn't go and look for those that were 80, 60 years. He looked for the young people because they have the energy, they have the zeal, they still have the future. You cannot tell us that someone that is actually at their exit is going to think about youths that are still having 40 years of survival in a country when you're waiting to meet the Lord. But also secondly, we want to be very clear that to the youths outside there, there is also a gap between us who want to be leaders and those who we need to consult from, those who are supposed to be our mentors. I don't know what has happened to this country with the rate of resignation and giving up offices for young people to take over. You're going to find yourself that one Maseruka Robert wants to compete to be a member of parliament, but is competing over 70 or 60-year-old. So the people that we must have consulted from to take up these positions, we are actually in the same competition. So we have no one that we are going to consult from. But also, I want to encourage the youths outside there that there is no time that is going to come when these people are going to organize for us a party, organize for us drinks, throw food, invite us and them and say, you see, come and we have a meal here, we are exiting offices, and for you people, young people, to come in. I have realized in this country, it will never happen. We are supposed to go head to head with these people, take up these positions, and fulfill what we think our country should be in the next 40 years.
Stuart, who's carrying the responsibility here and now? Is it the system that is limiting you to come forth, or is it the young people in terms of organizing themselves and making sure that hook or crook, they're part of the table?
I would say the two are one and the same, because if I may, when we look at the organization of Uganda before the British came, we were in a clan-based system. No matter where you went in the country, the clan worked, and the clan favored the elders. Then when the British came and took over, they produced what they called the religio colonization, whereby we were told whoever is more senior in the church is the better leader. So still they carried on those principles of young people need to first wait. Now we came into a mess whereby the young people that took over power as collaborators and businessmen in the pre-colonial period shifted the dynamics of power in the Obote period. Then we had the mess that came in with Amin because they entrusted power to the wrong person. Now, the system that came in after the liberation struggle he was talking of, when our leader went to the bush and won, also did not make an effort to change that. The people that took over said that we are now taking on a social contract. In capitalist theories, they say that the people entrust their leaders to rule them willingly. So the Kahindota theories will say the people want us to lead them. Now the issue with such a system is when a person goes into power thinking that the people want me, it is hard to convince him that the people don't want them. So we are in a system whereby the people in power, from the time when they were in their prime, still believe that now, even though they are in the wee hours of their regime, are the favorites of the locals. And it has also indoctrinated the young people into thinking that those people are still needed. Their expertise is the best in the pool that is available. Now, it has created a problem whereby you could say that the young people are the ones to blame. Yes, maybe at a certain point they are not in the real struggle. Because I met a friend and he told me, my father fought. Because he fought, I am now a commissioner. Did your father fight? I said, no. Then you fight. But then
so that your child can be the commissioner.
Yes. But then again, you realize that that same doctrine of thought, that school of thought that we have been taught to embrace as a society, is because of the system that the people who went to the bush formed. So it is one in the same. It is hard to say those two are mutually exclusive. Thank you.
Okay, Stefan, do you have a contribution to this?
About that, if I'm speaking in relation to what Edgar Stewart is saying, yes, that has been a great issue whereby we still have a mindset of saying that since my father, since my mom participated in the bush, then I do have the rights to also be having something or a portion in what the government is doing, what is giving. I believe that we should all change our mindset to a perspective of having someone basing on how, first of all, how informed is the person, and how is someone, or how are the youths really willing to deliberate the country. Because you can't tell me that if there is someone with the vigor at hand, and he has the passion, secondly, he's a leader by quotient, by character, and is competing maybe with someone who, whereby the father was a bushfighter or anything, dealing with anything that was of rivers. Those people shouldn't be stopped from coming into what? Into leadership. Why? It is because we are now leading into the monotony, whereby the country needs people who have love for their country. Because why? If I have the ideas, if I have love for my country and I'm willing to serve wholeheartedly, then why would you stop someone from pursuing that vision? Okay.
All right. So I hear indoctrination. I hear change of mind. Masaruka, you're not new to leadership. You've been a leader previously at the university level. How were you able to manage indoctrination of the people that you were leading at the time and the mindset that they had?
Well, I think first of all, many of our youths are neat in form of they are not employed, they are not educated, and they are not in training. Now, part of the things that we need is to create awareness among our youth that it is not actually, it's not too late, and no one is going to come out and give you permission of when to start or to begin, because even those that are leading us right now, they never, requested for anyone's permission for them to start. But also, it comes off with the current policies and the system that we are working with. It speaks a lot that in the year since the year 2012, we have had over 27% of the people drop out of active, youths drop out of active politics, form of demonstrations, in form of making policies, in form of contesting and so on. We are now at 5%. It also speaks a lot of how our youths have been demoralized in the recent past. Now, we are all not going to become, as youths, we are all not going to become members of parliament, ministers, cabinet ministers and so on. But also this government should be seen serious even in the list of things that you're going to bring out policies that are going to support our youth at the end of the day. It speaks a lot of the narrative a youth will have when they are starting a business. We could say that we could give our youth tax holidays because we care about the businessmen and women that we are going to have in the next 10, 30 years. We care about their health. Education should not just be universal. We should also think about what salary are the teachers getting. I've seen there has been an increment from the new vision, but we are also looking at what salaries are teachers having. What is the environment in which students are studying? Do they actually receive education when they get there? We need to think about the health, because trust me or not, what is not working for you today doesn't mean it won't work for other people in the next 30 years. So the advantage is you already have the biggest population, which you are sure about that they are going to survive in the next 40 years. Yours is to actually make sure that take about their business, their health, their social status, such that it is worth enough for them to prevail in the next 40 years. So it also gets back to the policies. We are all not going to run in these positions, but we have civil servants, we have doctors, we are having teachers, we are having people that are still fighting so much to get a master's, to get a degree, like my colleagues here, to become professors. What policies have you set that a person that is in their P7, that is in their senior 6, is actually looking forward to looking at the current professors as their idols to look at for them to become the next professors?
Stuart, on that note, the most recent policies or laws that have been dealt with by Parliament, which one of them do you feel is actually curtailing or unfair, especially to the youth?
Thank you very much. Now, we have an issue that when we come to policy drafting, most of the policy analysts that are employed by Parliament, whether on opposition or government, they themselves are in the wee hours of their time on earth. Now, we will come to the recently amended sovereignty bill. We had an issue whereby they were not very clear on who a foreign agent is. Now, I have a friend, they study abroad, they're going to do their bachelor's degree, but they were facing an issue whereby they're about to be termed a foreign agent because they stay abroad even though it was for a limited time. Now, had we not made noise about that specific clause, we are going to have issues. But thankfully, the government chief whip has been advised by the president, and when I looked at the amended bill, they crossed that out and also crossed out the part about limiting finances and defined which finances will be limited, because it also affects students in the country, youth in the country that rely on foreign money. Because if you have students that are getting money from their relatives in the USA, if I have an exam on Monday and I have to first go to look for the minister, will I study? Now, it comes back to our collective social conscience as a country. Something I've observed in Uganda, if a person is born into Uganda, you are born into hustle. You're not born into something that you're striving for. I'm speaking about a national ethos. I believe it would be the answer to the indoctrination that we are facing right now. When you go to South Africa, they call it the rainbow country. Why? After gaining independence, they did not want to chase the what? The Boers. When you go to America, they are pursuing the American dream. But then as Uganda, what are we pursuing? As Uganda, everyone is, as we commonly term it in the layman's language, we are looking for bread. Full stop. But is there a goal that we could align to as a country, so that when I am talking to students at Makerere as an alumni, I say, for God and my country, we strive for this. So that they understand that we are in a struggle for a better future, but we are not just hustling to find food for the day. Now, the reason why I say that is because we have members of Parliament that are youth, and those are the youth MPs. Then we also have people like him that came through adult suffrage and went into Parliament. But I'm also realizing that these members of parliament are looking for bread.
Seruka, are you going in to look for bread? So
Well,
how much bread do you need?
you see, youths of this country, we have gotten to a point of living a bait and switch life. No one is certain what is going to happen tomorrow. And that would require us venture into very many things. You have seen how people using internet, they have become content creators. In all shape and form. This person started to be a doctor, but they have become content creators. Because, tell me why. Even those that are, and now you're going to get to an extent where if I started to be a doctor, and now I've turned into a content creator, a doctor in a government hospital is going to start admiring me.
And
you can imagine.
I think I also need to have a content creation on the side. That being said, Masaruka, you are standing at a pivotal point as you are, preparing to be part of the 12th Parliament. There's been the argument that when young people enter in there, the system changes them instead of them changing or being part of the change for the others to come in or the others that they represent. How do you intend for yourself to be able to guard that mindset and that perception that hovers around any young person?
Well, for me, I think it draws back to the constituency from where I come from. There are things I told these people. I had a manifesto. There are things I talked to them about. But also, when you look at my constituency, you're going to find that we lose over 3,500 students in primary schools. We lose over 2,500 students in secondary schools. We have a minimum number that gets to the university. So, Masaruka Robert here, who has gotten a chance to move from such backgrounds as they are to university and actually become a guild president, are much more entitled to what fellow young children are going to go through, whether they actually get to campus. It is there where you find getting to the next health center, you require to move 5 kilometers on average, meaning they actually, those who move a much more longer distance to get to the next health center. In there I have islands of Kome, and you're going to find that to them, even having a school is an issue. So with all that, unless we forget our background, is when we shall be swallowed up in the system. And I hope being swallowed up in the system speaks a lot of the corruption scandals you one way or the other, you have seen in bribe and so on. But also that speaks of, you see, now being elected into this position with adult suffrage, very many people that want to become members of parliament are waiting to point at Masaruka Robert that, you see, because of Masaruka Robert support us. That is when we get to 2031. Because of this, and this. Of course, for us to also, in our campaigns, we used to point at certain youths that have actually been very consequential in policies and government formulation in the recent past. So we know what it means. That's why we are saying it comes off with a lot of responsibility. But also, if we haven't changed our values and integrity when we are still guild president, it speaks a lot when we get to the national level. Not forgetting, like we already say, Makerere University is Uganda summarized. You can expect the best if you are the best in Makerere.
Okay. That being said, as we come into the crown of this conversation, let's now speculate. 2031, we're back at this very same table, and we are asking ourselves, what was that one measurable change that was actually approved by cabinet or even through parliament that actually brought and gave young people real tangible power? Let me start with you, Stefan.
See, that's a very nice request from you, Ms. Priscilla. You see, if you look into the Ugandan parliament, you will see that if you want really to be put the youth somewhere, police execution has to be at its high helm. That's the first thing. But again, when you go back in policy execution, let me take a look of maybe I've tried to look into the Uganda's national budget, which was 72.3 trillion. So if you see, the youths were given around 1.2 trillion, whereby it was now taken to the 1.2 through the youth livelihood, through the youth venture funds, through the PDM. But if you see, the problem here comes in that policies are not strong enough. Why? It is because there is a way how in the signing up, there are stages. Giving an example of PDM, you'll find that if the DSOs and the RDCs sign on the money for the PDM, let me give an example in regards to one of our group from Kasese Group. So these people, when these people sign on this and the youth chairs, it will take some time for these people to get the money from the DSOs, from the year, from the RDCs and the CAO. By the time you reach on the lower level, you'll find that nothing has really been gotten. Why police execution still has some potholes. It still has some potholes, which is still an issue. You begin processing up something in 2023 and you get it in 2025, 2024. This has really been a very perturbing issue, especially to the youth. We've seen some of the people coming advocating for the PDM, but some of them are unable to get it. Why? It is because they don't have maybe the connections, or they don't have the right people to approach to. Why? It's because they don't have that strong uphold with the people up. And this has really affected the youth in one way or the other. So if we can at least have the youth themselves to come in and find a way to come in and push up in an induction way, see that at least if the RDCs push, the youth are willing to push, and then we see the way how we can streamline this so that these people can, the people down there can also get something.
Okay, all right. Let me turn to the speaker. In which parliament do you want to be the speaker?
I will keep that to myself.
Okay, all right. Stuart.
Well, to think and even speculate about what policies would work best for Uganda, I believe it is crucial for our audience to understand that we are in a capitalist but also socialist economy. We have capitalist policies. For example, the IMF privatization that comes as a condition for our loans, the trade orders, but then we have socialist policies also. Now that advocates for different things at different levels, and even in the cabinet appointments. Now, we reach a point whereby, due to those technicalities that the youth are unaware of, we come in head on into things that we do not understand. But the most feasible thing right now, and which I would actually advocate for, is Mzei's promise. When he was on his campaign trail, he said that he wants to set up a graduate fund, whereby after 2 years of university and you're still unemployed, you're given startup capital for your own enterprise. That would be phenomenal. I think would be the first African country to have such a fund. The other thing that would actually help, but which is impossible in a capitalist economy, would be minimum wage. Because I finished a bachelor's degree in pharmacy, but I do not qualify for a salary above 800,000 after studying 4 years. The reason is there is no minimum wage for Uganda. Can these legislators sit down and say that as long as a person has finished a professional degree, the minimum wage is 2 million on entry job? Then if they've finished an academic degree, you also say 1.5 million. If we can't have such legislation, we are going to have an issue whereby, as he said, you find that TikTokers...
The doctor is now a comedian.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because then lastly, and most importantly, the affirmative action in legislation. We have an issue whereby in the PDM, to access the money, you must go through a circle, but a circle dominated by people who are old. So when the money comes, you don't receive it. Can the money for the youth be separated in every sector? In PPDA, it's also a problem. Those contracts are not announced. Because they're not announced, they're taken up by old people because they claim that the youth didn't turn up. So in our legislation, we need to have the real affirmative action that was talked about in the Constitution implemented. If it stays on paper, we are going to keep lamenting.
Okay, all right. So Stefan here in the next 5 years has a job of sensitizing the young people so that they're not on paper, but they are in action for, acquiring those contracts. Maseruka, the people of Mukono, when you stand before them in 2031, what are you going to tell them?
What I will have done in the 5 years. But of course, that comes... You see, I don't know why youths in this country, same age that fought so much for this country to become, and the government existing, are looked at as detriments of good governance. Because, I mean, if our years fought, they should be seen at the table, not as the menu. When we are talking about policies that are going to work for the youths, I actually don't encourage this government to give us money directly, because it doesn't work. Good governments work on the social services. They decrease on the expenses of people in their day-to-day life. You're going to give us that money called emyoga, entandikwa, and so on. Okay. But tell me why you have given me 1 million. The next time I'm sick and I'm going to a hospital, they need 600. It doesn't match. Tell me which business you're going to start with 1 million. And that speaks a lot when the president visits our constituencies and gets to one farm where there is one big pig. Because this money at the ground, it is not actually fulfilling the purposes for which it was given to the people. You want me to start a business of 1.5. Tell me which capital in Uganda that looks as it is a business that is going to sustain here for the next, and it is not omudala gwenyanya, that is going to be here for the next 5 years, and its starting capital is 1.5. Okay. Because people get sick on that 1.5, people are getting sick. You, your family, and the children. Those children need to go to school. The schools where they are going, they need scholastic materials. In one way or the other, they also need food to eat. I don't think if a government that has actually planned for its people would only give out money rather than planning and giving youths avenues from where they can exercise their opportunity and therefore become rich, we won't be disturbing this government. Okay, all right. Gentlemen, we all have a task before us in different capacities that 5 years from today, we should be able to come back to this table and analyze the conversation that we have had today. The power of the youth, is it just in wording and in statistics, and how can it be converted into reality? Because young people are not waiting in the wings, they are actually already in the country's political and social reality. So at the end of the day, today's discussion is making one thing clear, that numbers alone are not equal to power, but power is built through structure, it's built through strategy, it's built through sustained pressure, and of course once all this is accessed, it must then translate into real outcomes, which outcomes we await to see. This brings us to the end of this conversation. We do have more coming up. Do stay with us.